Hey, and this is Rick, and don't get too shocked by this. I don't think the idea of publishing a book would be altogether that bad an idea. I've got hours of notes, and I've categorized or cataloged your videos for some strange reason. Actually, I did think that they would either make a good paper or study. Of course, you can't do those these days because of ethics without permission from the person. Probably everybody in America is laughing at me right now, but hear me out on this. The things you have to ask yourself before you really consider publishing a book or having somebody else write it for you. You're more of a fan of video, and you want that to be in this book about Ian, and you want to publish a book that's just about the things that you've said in the 200 plus videos that you've already created. You want to be a part of it, be a part of the process of this book, and the core question I have for you is, what is the purpose of this book? Is it, as you went along, I got some loose associations here. For one thing, you said you wanted a book of things that because it would be helpful to you, and you'd like to have a book for you that you could sit down and read and have volumes of text that you could read. But then you allude to the fact that text is so rigid, and obviously nothing in life is more rigid than the spoken word, number one, and number two, nothing is more permanent or eternal than the written word. And so you have to start thinking about, for a person who has control issues and wants to control, you would have to relinquish so much control. I don't know that that would feel right to you. You couldn't include or write a book about text without write a book about yourself in these video blogs without including the comments and the video responses that were included as a result of your videos. In doing that, you open yourself up to losing the control, because what would the story be if you did not include the public's responses to your video blogs? There has to be some purpose for this book other than your pure, I want to sit down and read about me, because the rest of the world doesn't want to just sit down and read about you. You've got to have a story, and I think you have a story to tell. It's got to provide something for the reader and not just for the author of the book, or it won't sell. And I think that you do have some economic drive there, or impetus that you're putting into it. Then you say that you don't want it to be so rigid because that's the way religions are started. I don't think anybody in their right mind that watches any of your videos has ever looked at you as a person who would be a religious leader or a cult starter. I don't think you would have a large following in a religious sense, because you're wandering through life and you haven't found Ian yet. So if you haven't found yourself, you're not reasonably going to be able to convince an audience through video or through the written text that you can help them find themselves. It would be a book about your journeys through life, healing the hurts in you that you didn't deserve. Ian's video diary. But things you'd have to seriously contemplate to make this a viable, reasonable thing are, when you put a book out, you put yourself up for a lot more criticism. You lose control and you gain more criticism than you've ever gained so far in all the video blogs you've done. And so you just have to ask yourself, do you have the visceral fortitude? That's a Texas term for guts. Do you have the guts to have a book written where all of your video blogs are put into text format, and along with that, the critical underpinnings that come from, or underpinnings that come from your listeners and your subscribers. On multiple occasions, you've had several of your subscribers say, Ian, stop, think, listen to yourself. If it's in text, you'd be, for the first time, committed to having to listen to yourself. And not always in the light that you see yourself, but in the light that others see in you. Something to think about. You know, you really have to pound this out a little bit harder before you announce to the world, hey, this is Ian, and I want somebody to chronicle my video blogs for me so that I can have them sent up to a publisher and put into a final published format and printed and get them hot off the press. There's a lot more that goes into it than a 2.5, one of your shortest video blogs I've seen yet. There's a lot that goes into that. That you want to be an active participant, that's a great thing. You know, a lot of people have books written, or biographies or autobiographies written with ghostwriters or with people who do the actual writing. So I don't think that was so off the wall. That's not an issue with me. The issue with me is it's got to be of something of interest to the general population or to the general public, or else they would not buy. You'd be wasting your money. I haven't published in years. When I started watching your videos, I started taking notes because I was trying to figure you out. And I think you already know that I figure you out as an adult child of an alcoholic, and you're struggling with issues that you can't resolve from your childhood and your past, and you're trying hard. Something to think about. Interesting that you would put this out at this particular time. But my question to you would be, if you want a book of your video blogs chronologized or put into text format, would you be willing to also have what other people have to say about you and all of the other blogs that have been given in response to yours? Those would be in the book too? Or would you have the power of censorship to where it's only what I say and what I write in my book? When you're writing a book, you have to appeal to the masses, or you have to have a message that's good, or you have to have a story that's worth telling. And every one of us, great and small, we all have stories, and we all think that we should write books at some time in our lives or another. So I just wanted to dialogue and get your brain stirring on this publish a book idea. I know that you've gotten a lot of are you kidding me? Are you out of your tree? Types of responses. I don't think you're out of your tree. I don't think it's that far-fetched. But what's the angle you're spinning off? And what's the purpose of the book? I'd really like for you to email me, or send me a response or a text that just sort of gives me some idea of where you want to go, other than just having, we can hire you can hire a transcriptionist to just type all your vlogs. Take about 3 weeks, and they'd have every one of them word for word transcribed, and that'd be the cheapest thing if that's all you want, is a written historical documentation of your videos in text format. Maybe I'm way off base and you do want to start a religion, and I couldn't read between the lines with that, but